Five, four, three, two, one.
Welcome back to the Loading Up Podcast. I'm your co-host, Brother Zay, along with Producer J.
What's up? What's up?
What's going on, man? Before we get into any news, what we're playing, everything, I just want to say thank you for listening to this podcast, for supporting us. Hit that like button, subscribe. It's free to do. We appreciate all you. As well as, don't forget to support the sponsors on the stream. And for the podcast, we have W Energy Drink. The links are in the description down below. Use code LUP at checkout, as well as Starforge PCs. Get all your PC gaming right from Starforge. Just click that link down below, as well as NordVPN. Get yourself a VPN, protect yourself, and go visit a different country while you're at home.
Yeah.
All the links are in the description down below. And that's that. Let's get into it, man. What you been playing? Talk to me.
It's been a minute. We took a week off last week, and I'm happy to say I finally beat Ori and the Will of the Wisps.
Hey, claps.
That game, maybe I'm just misremembering from the first game. That game is pretty long. I mean, it's a smaller game, but it's pretty long. It took me like 10 to 15 hours or something like that. But granted, I was playing like on my off time or whatever, but it's a decent
long
jump.
game. It's not like a short, not like a 5-hour game.
Yeah.
It's a decently sized game.
Yeah, but it's very good, it's very fun, and it's very rewarding. Like once you figure out the puzzles and how to beat like the bosses and stuff like that. I remember I kept getting stuck on like certain bosses and I'm just like, yo, what the heck? And it's like I try my best to not like look up guides for certain things because it's just like I want to try and figure it out myself, but thankfully I didn't have to.
Nice.
But yeah, so I finally beat that, so check one off the list. I mean, when did that game come out? It came out like what, 2016 or something like that?
Yeah, so long ago.
Yeah, so it's like, yeah,
it's okay. It's okay. You're making progress.
I am making progress.
Producer J, a round of applause, everybody.
2 claps for Producer J. Yeah, so I was playing that, and I actually started a new one, Dungeons of Hinterberg.
Hey,
and
how you like?
So I'm gonna be honest. At first, I was not feeling it. Like for whatever reason, it wasn't clicking with me until the first dungeon, and I was just like, okay. Well, they had the tutorial dungeon, but the actual like first real dungeon that you do, that was when I was like, okay, I see where this game is going and how it picks up. It definitely, and then once you get a feel for like the combat and like the mechanics and stuff like that, it's really fun. I call it, the way I would describe it is like, it's kind of like a micro RPG. Like it has a lot of like RPG like stuff where you can like upgrade your stuff and, you know, talk to characters, and it has like branching dialogue stuff, but it's like it's on a smaller scale. So if you're like hesitant to get into like a bigger RPG, this would probably be a good gateway into it because it doesn't like, it's not too much to understand. There's not a lot of exposition there, and that makes for an easier time to like just get into it. And I've only done like think the first 4 dungeons, and I think there's like 25. So
there's a lot.
There's a lot of it, and I can see myself getting really into it. So that's my next portable game.
Nice.
But outside of that, I made some more progress in Metal Gear Solid. I remember last time we talked, I was talking about the whole beating the end about just not playing the game for 2 weeks, and it worked. So I beat him, not even doing anything.
That's really cool.
I know. I'm so happy that it worked. I mean, I knew it would work, but it's like it's been so long since I've done it that I was just like, oh, maybe it will work. I don't know. But I'm glad that it worked, and it's kind of like it's a tactic. I mean, I'm sure like speedrunners do it too. Well, maybe not speedrunners because like you actually have to stop playing. So I mean, there's another way to do it, but I mean, is it spoilers? I can spoil it, right? I mean, I already said.
The game's been out for decades.
Yeah, I was gonna say, but it's like for like the new game is coming out or the remake is coming out. I don't know. Hey, you could kill him earlier, actually. I'll just say it, whatever. There's a way you can actually beat the end before you actually even face him. So, but that's all I'll say. And I guess that's what speedrunners use.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so I've been doing that, been playing my WWE. You know, I want to say, you know about the what do they call it in 2K? My teams? Is that what it's called on NBA 2K? Where it's like
Uh,
it's like a card thing.
oh, I don't know what they're called, but I know what you're speaking about.
Yeah, so on in the WWE game they have it. It's very similar. It's called My Faction.
Okay.
And every game since they've introduced it, I've always like shied away from. I was like, I don't care about that stuff. Like it's whatever. Like I'm not trying to like waste money on this shit. And granted, you don't have to waste money, but it's like it's a grind to try and like get the good cards or
Mm-hmm.
whatever.
Of
But
course.
I don't know. Maybe it's just because I like playing the game. I've gotten so into it recently. I haven't spent any money on anything, but it's like they have
Yes.
yet. Well, I mean, okay, in the beginning I spent like maybe I think like $5, but it wasn't my $5. It
Uh-huh.
was the Microsoft Rewards $5 that I had. So I just had it. Anyway, so I've been playing that a lot and it's I've been really like addicted to it because they have these challenges where like you have to basically you're like I'm trying to like explain it and like so that way, people can understand. But let's say you're like the lowest level card and then you have to fight a super high level card. So it's like out of 100 and then you have to use a level 75 card to face a level 98 card. And you have to do it without the HUD on. So you can't tell like how badly you're hurt. You can't tell if you have finishers. You can't tell if you
Oh,
have
it has
special.
like extra stipulations in order to
Yes.
do it. Okay, okay.
And that was just one of them that they just had recently. And that shit was so frustrating. Like it was, I mean, granted, I'm doing it myself. Like obviously, I don't have to do it, but I'm doing it because it's fun
Yeah.
and but I did it and I got a good card out of it. So but that's what I'm saying. It's like you can get the cards for free. It's just you gotta grind. Like that's what it is. So yeah, I've been playing that and it's just been kind of it's similar to the way I play like the portable games on my ROG Ally. So I kind of play it on the side and just whenever I'm like I don't know what else to play.
Yeah.
Um but yes, I've been playing that, and that's been it really, honestly. What you been playing?
Okay, so I picked up since I finished a couple of games, I picked up Tales of Arise, which I've started I think I want to say last year, but now I picked it up and getting back into it. I want to finish it. It's a really good game, so I'm excited to finish it, you know.
Yeah,
I'm not even halfway through yet, so it's one of those long anime RPG games, you know.
yeah.
It's really good.
JRPG, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I've been playing that. Also been playing obviously we'll play Call of Duty and
You been playing as
also
mommy?
yes,
Rhea
always.
Ripley? I actually got
um
the code. Well, I told you in the group chat that I got the Cody Rhodes skin,
yes.
so I've been playing that a little bit as well.
Nice, nice. But also been playing, as you can see, the from the video, if you're watching on YouTube, I've been playing Delta Force Hawk Ops. It's sort of a early access, like in beta. It's not even beta, so I think it's alpha.
I was just gonna
It,
ask because like I just heard about this game the other day.
yes, it's in alpha. It was supposed to release in alpha in July, but they sort of delayed it because it wasn't ready. They were having some troubles and issues, so they released the um alpha out this month in August. And I got access to it. I started playing it and I'm really liking it. Even though you're probably seeing me die a whole bunch because I'm playing on mouse and keyboard and I don't play very many games on mouse and keyboard. So it's a struggle, but I get my groove on later on in the video and
Yeah,
start getting a lot more kills. But it's fun. It's sort of like if Call of Duty and Battlefield had a baby
I
and you
was
put a little bit of Tarkov in there because they
I
have a
was
mode for like extraction.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that it looks like a blend between both of those.
Yeah, yeah. The gunplay is really smooth. Of course they have like some heroes and characters you could pick, and they have like different abilities, kind of like Battlefield. The gunplay feels more. more or less like right in the middle between Call of Duty and Battlefield. And then
Who
of
who
course they
is
have the
developing
extraction.
this?
I have. Let me see if I can pull the page up right now.
Because
Um,
th- like I said, I never heard about this game until the other day when people were talking about it on Twitter, and I've seen. I mean, I'm looking at the gameplay now actually, and I'm
yeah,
just like, yeah, this
it's
looks like if you didn't say like what it was, I would have thought it was Battlefield.
yeah. It's very this mode in particular that I'm recording is very Battlefield like. It's like you got to go get the point and or defend the points, and they
Okay.
got to come and attack and get the point. So yes, that mode is very Battlefield like, but it will have a campaign where and Delta Force has been around for a long time. They did the Black Hawk Down video game way back in the day,
Oh, okay.
and you get to sort of play in the campaign. They released that they're gonna play the Black Hawk Down mission, and then they're gonna go into the future and play futuristic missions, and future like 2035, not too far into the future.
Oh,
So it's got a campaign, it's got the multiplayer, which is sort of like Battlefield, and then it's got like the extraction mode where you could go in, fight other players as well as NPCs while looting and then extracting out. And if you die with your gear, you die with all that gear is lost. You
oh,
know, so it's like one of those. But it's done really well. It's very fast, more faster paced than like a Tarkov. So it's really fun. Because especially if you like the faster pace of these type of games.
yeah.
I was having a lot of fun playing it. I already put like 5 hours into the game, and I've only had it for like a couple days. So
Nice.
yeah, it's very fun. And just to let you know, it's developed by Team Jade, and Timmy Studio Group is the publisher. So it's going to be free to play. You can play a PC, Xbox, PlayStation, everywhere is going to be free to play. You know, they're just
Okay.
doing a play test right now on PC and Steam.
Nice. I
Yeah,
will
it's
I
fun.
will
I'm having a lot of fun playing.
I will say that name is a mouth.
I know.
That's so hard to say. It sounds
Yeah.
like a fake game, honestly.
You know what's funny? I had the Steam page open while we're talking, so I don't mess up the name.
Yeah.
Because if I don't have it in my face, I'm gonna screw it up. And it's so funny you say that because brother Matt was texting me earlier. He's like, "Yo, you're at work. I want to play Delta Fart Cock Ops." Because
No,
we
I
was
mean,
talking about how bad the name is.
yeah, the name, like I said, it's like it feels like one of those like fake like mobile games that you'll
Yeah.
see like an ad for, and that's what I was saying. I said somebody posted about it on Twitter, and I was just like, that name is not doing the game any favors.
No, it's not. But it's really fun. I was having a lot of fun playing it. So and it's getting me to turn on my PC and play more PC games. So
There you go.
um it's having a lot of fun. A lot of fun.
That's good. That's nice.
Yeah. What's not having a lot of fun right now is Bungie.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Bungie is not having a lot of fun right now,
No, not
especially
at
its
all.
developers. So they just recently announced over 220 people are being fired from Bungie. They're being laid off. Fired, laid off, whatever you want to call it, they don't have a job anymore. Right now, that's 70% of the overall workforce. But if you want to count the other percentage that they did, I think it was last year, as a total of 40% reduction in workforce at Bungie year to date since being acquired by Sony. Um, so they fired 220 people and they moved 155 roles within Sony Interactive Entertainment around to create 40 or so. It says 40 or so and create a new sub studio under Sony for a brand new game that they're going to be working on. So there's a lot of shakeups going on with Bungie right now, and it's first of all, the whole situation is absolutely horrendous.
Oh yeah.
There are reports of the CEO, um, Pete Parson. He was buying luxury cars, like $2.5 million worth of luxury cars, inviting people over to his house to like look at the cars and have like a dinner party, and then firing them 2 days later. There's a lot of mismanagement going on at Bungie, and Sony is sort of just gobbling them up and taking control over it now because I think the latest rumor out there is that Herman Hulst, one of the CEOs for Sony Interactive Entertainment, is going to be taking up the lead head of the studio now of Bungie. So I think they're gonna slowly dissolve Bungie until it just becomes officially part of Sony instead of being independent like it was before.
Yeah. I mean,
And
no, go ahead.
it's a shame. No, it's just an absolute shame what's been going on.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say that the Bungie of old is dead. Like the Bungie that made Halo 2, Halo 3, Halo 1 is it's not there anymore. And
Yeah,
even the
definitely.
first Destiny, like there's just not the same people in charge over there, and it sucks because it's like Bungie was once held to a high regard. Like when you saw Bungie, you thought, okay, that's quality right there. You
Yeah.
know you're gonna get something good with them. But now, ever since I feel like they broke away from Activision, which is so odd to say because like people hated the fact that they were partnering with Activision for Destiny, and once they broke away and became independent, it's just been nonstop like downhill for Bungie, and they've been losing money, and the fact that they got bought by Sony probably should have like raised a little bit like red flags there. And I remember when that when they first got announced that they were acquiring Bungie, I think it was Jeff Grubb. He said that initially Bungie went to Microsoft to go back to Microsoft, and they turned them down. Now we know why, because apparently they were not lying, but kind of like fudging the numbers to make themselves seem like in a better standing than what they really were. They were I'm trying to remember the words that were actually used. I think they were saying like they were like burning money or something.
Yeah,
Something about like
they had a high burn rate.
that's what it's called. Yeah. So they were basically spending more than they were making, and I guess they were trying. I don't know if they were hiding it or just trying to like make themselves look better. And Microsoft passed on them because of that. And
I
it was
mean,
a lot of people.
did they really think Microsoft was not gonna look into that and just see it,
Well,
like see what was going on?
I mean, I don't know. I don't know what's going on at the leadership at Bungie. But apparently Sony fell for it.
They
Because
overpaid.
yeah, they overpaid. They overpaid by $1 billion. They literally spent an extra, I think it was like 1.2 billion for employee retention because they didn't want people to leave Bungie because of this acquisition, and literally that meant nothing. And
Absolutely nothing.
granted, it was supposed to be over the course of a few years, so maybe they got out of it. Like maybe that's why they're making this change. So they're trying to get out of having to pay that extra billion. Um, yeah. So it's just been a shit show, and it sucks because I feel like Bungie could have been something very special for Sony, and I honestly I don't know who's mostly at fault. You could say Bungie is at fault before for having that leadership issue, which is what seems to be the problem.
Yeah.
That they just don't know how to manage things. You can say it was Sony, maybe because and that's another thing too, the fact that Sony was relying on Bungie so heavily on the future of their live service aspirations. Like we don't know for sure, but there was rumors saying that Bungie is the reason why The Last of Us Factions 2 got canceled. And basically they were kind of shaping what Sony's live service future would look like.
I
And
mean, there was
now,
even before you continued, there was even reports that it wasn't just them going around saying, "Oh, your live service game is trash." It was probably them going around saying, "Get out of the live service game while you can.
could be,
Don't burn money like we did.
you're right.
Leave."
Maybe,
It could be
maybe
that.
it could be. Like, honestly, it could be. But yeah, it sucks that Bungie's just gonna become just another studio underneath Sony. Now, granted, maybe Sony could be like, okay, don't do live service stuff. Just focus on like just the storytelling stuff. Because honestly, I think that's what Bungie was known for. I know a lot of people when they think Halo, they think of like Halo multiplayer and stuff like that, but mostly the story is what a lot of people were drawn to as well.
Yeah.
So I think going forward, maybe they might pivot Bungie into being a more story-based single player type, or maybe they could do co-op. I don't know. But live service, I don't think Bungie is gonna be doing any more live service games aside from Marathon, which
I was
I don't
gonna
even
say,
know. Yeah, I don't even know what's gonna happen with that. I mean, I
I mean,
guess I guess it's still gonna come out. They have to make it. They already announced it. I mean, I
they
guess they
did
could just cancel
pivot.
it. Yeah.
They did pivot for what it was. It was supposed to be what, like extraction
Ex yeah,
and
extraction
an
shooter.
extraction shooter. Now it's a hero shooter. So is that also the right move for Marathon, especially when there are plenty of hero shooters on the market already, as well as one that's coming out that's free to play, the Marvel Rivals hero shooter. That's gonna be big because just because it's Marvel,
Yeah.
you know.
They
So
you
it's
talk
going
about
up
hero
against
shooters, those are like actual heroes. So
exactly heroes that people know, heroes people like, heroes people want to play as, compared to some the characters that people would have to get to know,
and not only
or
that,
were brand new.
they already have a hero shooter coming out.
Concord.
Concord, yeah. So it's like
Yeah.
you want to compete not only against the big heavy hitters in the industry already with like Overwatch,
Mhm.
and you want to compete against yourself? Like I don't get it.
Yeah.
Um we'll see what happens with Marathon, but honestly, this I mean, just going back to what happened, like I mean, we talk about Bungie as a whole. This just it just sucks because I mean, we've talked about layoffs so many times over the past year,
I
and
think this
it's
podcast today is gonna be full of layoffs.
yo, it's like it never ends, and we say it every time. It's not gonna end. I mean, we're literally the next story is gonna be about layoffs. So it's like I don't know. I don't know what the solution is, and I mean, granted, it's not my job to figure that out, but I wish these executives at Sony, at Bungie, like at any of these studios, publishers, whatever, can just like realize like what or not realize but like figure out what the problem is, because it's like if layoffs are the solution, then there's something going wrong here. And I
Yeah.
feel like there needs to be like an overhaul of what the process is going forward. And I don't know if anything is going to change at Bungie. I mean, what's his name? Pete Parsons. He's
Yeah.
still the CEO of Bungie. So it's like, is anything gonna change? I don't know. I mean, granted, we know well, it's rumored that Herman Hulst is gonna be like controlling Bungie or whatever. He's gonna be at the head or whatever.
Yeah.
But what does that mean? We don't know. We'll find out. But right now, it just really sucks. And yeah, it's just a messy situation.
It is, and it's only gonna get messier because next story is about Meta. Meta is closing Ready at Dawn, the first party studio behind many of its VR games like Echo VR and Lone Echo. Um, so now that's the whole studio closing, as well as everybody being fired. Um, and it's basically, they state it's just to save money because the VR efforts have fallen under $4.5 billion loss. So there, all these companies out there who are laying people off left and right, like Meta has done at Ready at Dawn, they're literally doing it to save their shareholders money because they're losing money. They're losing so much money. They have to hire a bunch of people to try and level it out, which really sucks.
Yeah.
I mean, we have these developers who develop these games, whether they're VR, whether it's Bungie games, whether they're developing, chipsets or Square Enix games, they're just firing people left and right to save money. It really sucks, And
Yeah.
now
I
now we
mean,
have even less developers working on VR. At least at Meta. What are they to do? Where does the Meta Quest 3, or even the next quest, so to speak, if they do a next quest, where does it go from here?
yeah, I was gonna say like honestly, what are they gonna make a Meta Quest for? Like I don't know. It's harder to predict when it comes to like I want to say quote unquote outsiders in the gaming industry.
Yeah.
Meta is an outsider, so to speak, or I don't say an outsider. They're like new. They're not really like they haven't had enough years in the business to really like gauge what their intentions are. Same with Google, same with Amazon. Um, so like this just could be them realizing that they probably bit off more than they can chew when it comes to like the gaming aspect of VR. Um, yeah, I mean, who knows what this means for like the meta games going forward. I know they haven't exactly been doing crazy like with the sales and stuff like that, but I mean, this goes back to just VR in general. Like honestly, I feel like it feels like not every few years, every decade there comes a company that really tries to get VR to happen, and it doesn't happen. I remember like 10 years ago it was Samsung where they had the where you could put the Samsung phone in the like headset or
Headset,
whatever, and
yeah. I have
I
one.
forgot. Yeah, I had one too. So like it just feels like they're always trying to get VR to work and it's just
Yeah.
not gonna work. So um yeah, I mean it sucks that this studio that has been around for so long is getting disbanded under
Yeah.
Meta of all companies.
Yeah. I was just gonna say
Um
because
I-
they made the Order 1886 as well as
yeah.
God of War Chains of Olympus for the PSP. So these developers have been around for quite some time.
Yeah, so I mean I mean I don't I'm trying to figure out what the words to say. Like I know it's a lot easier to just cut off the just basically just be done with it. Just lay off everybody, close the studio, whatever. But it's like, is it really that hard to just try and sell it off, or let them be independent? Like, what is the difference between closing the studio and just letting them become independent? I mean, I'm not there. I don't work there, so I don't know what the like financial aspect of it is. But I feel like that should be an option. Like with Toys for Bob. Like they gave them the option to become independent as opposed to closing them down. Now granted they did close down Tango. They didn't they didn't let them give that option. But yeah, I feel like that should be an option for studios. Like why not give them the opportunity to be independent? See if they can work and then if it doesn't then oh well. At least they tried.
I mean, maybe it comes out to the fact that maybe these developers don't have anything in the pipeline that can make these companies the money that they're looking for. You know, let's say, for instance, Tango. We don't really know why it shut down, but we do know that the head of Tango was already set to retire. So maybe without the direction of their head, they were just like, well, we don't know what to do. And so Microsoft was like, well, why continue to support a studio that has no future because they don't have any product that they're going to be able to use on our system? Why use them since they have nothing to develop? So maybe it's that they don't have
Maybe.
anything to develop, they don't have anything to bring that's positive for the company, so let's just get rid of them. Which either way, it still sucks. People lose their
Yeah,
jobs.
people
You
yeah.
know, the studios are closing. No matter what the reason for this happening, it still sucks. But there could be a reason that we just don't know because we're not sitting in the boardrooms, you know.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, we're just gamers. We're reacting to these news articles that are coming out. But we don't have that insider knowledge that let's say these board members or CEOs or even developers at the studio who can speak. We just don't have that insider knowledge that will give us exactly what we're looking for, which is an excuse. But honestly, I think the excuse is just these greedy corporations want more money and they're
Yeah.
losing money, so they're closing down studios and firing people.
Yeah, it's probably just a lot easier financially just to just close it down. Like just be done with it. I
Yeah.
don't know.
I mean, at least for the developers, just be done with them, you know?
Yeah, it's
It
like just
sucks.
rinse their hands of it, but
Yeah,
it still
yeah.
sucks. It's a very corporal mindset.
It really is. It really is. And speaking of corporal mindset, Intel, the chip maker, is laying off 15,000. You heard right. 15,000 employees, and they're looking to lay off an additional 4 to 5,000 by next year to save the
Insane.
company $10 billion.
Insane.
So this is literally saying that they're firing 15,000 to 20,000 people out of the 125,000 workers they have, so that way they can save $10 billion. And this speaks on a deeper level, because I mean, these are obviously not video game developers, but they do make game PC chips for, obviously PCs, and they are having a really tough time. Intel in particular. I don't know if anybody knows, or heard, or if they even care, but Intel chips in the 13th and 14th generation are actually frying people's motherboards and people's graphics cards, and they've known about it for a long time, but didn't say anything for a while, until YouTubers discovered what was going on and they figured it out. And now Intel's like, "Oh, don't, we're working on it. Don't worry, we're gonna fix it." But that
Yeah.
puts a big mistrust symbol right over Intel, and it really shows people you shouldn't trust them simply because they took so long to say something. Like, I'm pretty sure if these YouTubers who found out, if they didn't find it, maybe would have never known, and people would have just been buying more motherboards that got fried, or graphics cards that would get fried, simply because Intel chips are just frying them and just not working properly.
Yeah.
So it's an underlying these 15,000 people that got fired. It's an underlying cause for what's really happening at the company. The company is burning through cash. They're reducing their R&D and marketing budgets by billions of dollars. It's absolutely insane what's going on in this market. This year has been the worst year, and last year, 2023, was really, really bad.
Yeah,
This is worse than
yeah,
2022.
yeah, I was gonna say
Crazy.
this year is trying to say to 2023, hold my beer,
Yes,
because
it
they're trying
really
to
is.
outdo it. But
They have
honestly,
outdone it already.
yeah, they've already outdone it by a lot. So honestly, I think a lot of this has to do with a number of factors. But the main I want to say two are obviously the pandemic that kind of affected the entire tech industry, in that everybody was just on a hiring spree. Once everybody was like at home and using all the technology that they had, and investing, these companies, they wanted to invest in tune, because now people are at home, they're able to, they need these laptops, they need these computers to communicate, and because the Zoom and stuff like that. So they were capitalizing on the influx of spending, and obviously we got the stimulus checks, and all that. So these companies were just, for whatever reason, I don't know, maybe it's just because these companies didn't have to go through a pandemic before, so they didn't understand the concept of how these things work. So they were overhiring and basically just pouring money into everything, because now there was people using their product. There was a demand for their products, their chips, for PCs or for anything. Like they provide chips for like tablets and stuff like that. It's not just for computers. So there was a lot of demand for Intel, and I mean all any like tech company. So they overhired and overspent essentially. And now that everything is going back to normal, and they realize, oh shit, we overspent. Now we have all these employees that we're paying for that we don't need anymore.
Yeah.
So now it's either we try and just power through, or we get rid of them. And they made the decision to just get rid of them, because
I mean,
that's the easy solution.
exactly. If you think about it, they're saying, "Hey, listen, let's get rid of 20,000 people. We still have over 100,000 people working for us.
Exactly.
We'll still manage. We get rid of this amount of people, and we'll save $10 billion." The board members are out there like, 10 billion, do it. They're not.
Exactly. Yeah.
You don't care about the people, which is crazy.
Yeah.
It's going to go to about 19,000. 19,000 people have lost their job in just one company. That's nearly the total amount of people that were fired in all of 2023 last year for the tech industry.
Yeah.
That's just one company in 1 week this year. It's absolutely insane.
Yeah. But another aspect that is also kind of becoming, I don't want to say an issue, but it's starting to be not as big of a thing that people anticipated was or is AI. So a lot of companies invested in the AI tech, and a lot of companies are trying to come up with their own models to be able to handle a bunch of different aspects of their company, like whether it be like developing or customer service or whatever the case may be. And now it seems like that AI boom that was happening over the last couple years is kind of dying down a little bit. Like, yeah, it's still progressing, but it's not progressing at the rate that people thought it would. Like, people thought like by 2025, like everything would just be AI. Like, it was honestly like developing that fast. Like, I remember when people were talking about the whole I forgot what it's called, the one that did the video or whatever, like the AI video, that it
Yeah.
was progressing fast, but that's just one example, and there's not really a use case for that, at least not yet. So the fact that it was just kind of like it's being worked on, I think it's just not developing fast enough for these tech companies. And I think that's another aspect of them pouring money into something that's not giving a return fast as these companies wanted it. So I think that's another aspect that has caused Intel to make these layoffs. Is that, I mean, granted, we don't know. Obviously, it's 10,000 people. Like, I'm not gonna. We don't know exactly what jobs were cut, but
No, 15,000.
or 15,000. My bad. And may possibly 19. Um, we don't know exactly what jobs were cut, but I'm gonna assume that a lot of it had to do with AI as well as the whole COVID stuff, because it's just AI seemed to be the new frontier for a lot of tech companies, and now that it's not really giving the return that they wanted it or they wanted it to give, um they're trying to like not back off, but like kind of downsize their investment. But obviously they can't just get the money back that they spent. So who is the easiest to uh I'm trying
To
to figure out how to
target.
say it. Yeah, it's a target. I was gonna say who's next on the chopping block, but
Yeah.
it's the employees. Like, obviously the execs are not gonna take a pay cut. How dare they? Or how dare you suggest that? Um, yeah. So it's just, obviously it's just whoever's lowest on the totem pole of cost cutting is gonna get affected, and I think that's exactly what happened. So I mean, obviously there's more factors to this. This is just my assumption based on like what I've been seeing throughout the industry, and like just like what is happening to other tech companies. It it just seems like that's what is seemingly the issue going going forward with I lost my train of thought. I had a point, but anyway. But yeah, I honestly I think those are the two main issues that are affecting these tech companies, and I don't think Intel's gonna be the only one. I'm assuming. I mean, granted, we've seen layoffs for other tech companies like Microsoft and Google and Amazon and stuff like that. But this is the biggest one that I've
Yeah.
seen or that we've seen in since the layoffs have been happening. So
Yeah, I think this is absolutely the biggest one. But they've been, especially let's say in the down, the stock market, they have been down for a while. Whereas AMD, their counterpart, has been up, up, up. Even after the sort of like mini crash that they had this past week, AMD is still up. So what is going on? What are they doing at Intel that's so bad they just got to
Yeah,
fire 50,000 people?
that's another interesting thing too, because it's like then just recently, like I think either like a month or two ago, Nvidia became the number one most profitable or most what is it, they were number one in the stock market, right?
Yeah,
The most valuable company, and that's mostly because of the AI boom. Is that going
yeah.
to be affected? They haven't seen a hit yet. Maybe they could see a hit next. I don't know. We'll see.
Oh,
But
yeah.
if
Let's hope
Intel,
not.
no, I mean, obviously, yeah, let's hope not. But honestly, if Intel is being hit like this, then AMD, Nvidia, all these other tech companies they're probably looking at it and be like, we might have to do the same thing.
Well, no. Well,
It's never gonna end. It's literally
yeah,
this entire decade is just gonna be layoffs.
yeah. It's absolutely
I hate
insane.
to laugh
Starting off
at it, but
insane.
it's just like, what else can we
We're
do?
desensitized, you
Yeah, I mean,
know?
because it's happening at such a frequent rate that it's just like, what do? We can't do
Yeah.
nothing. And that's honestly like, honestly, I used to not when I grew up, like it's not like I wanted to be like a developer and stuff like that, but I thought about it. I was like, when I like to develop games and stuff like that, I want to work in the tech industry, but seeing all these layoffs and how easy it is to just lose your job because of nothing essentially.
Yeah,
I
because your manager made a bad decision.
Yeah, exactly, because my boss is this made yeah, because they made a bad decision. So it's like I- if I was if I had aspirations to be in the tech industry, I would easily change it after
Yeah.
what's been going on, which honestly sucks for the future because we're going to need these like future engineers and developers to kind of pick up the pace. But if they're being treated this way, why would you want to get into this industry? I don't know. It's like you're solving a problem, but then you're creating a new one. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, let's move on to Square Enix. So they've been in the news because their sales have been down. Their video game sales have been down, even though their high-profile release of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth has came out. They're just not seeing the amount of sales to combat it. Even though they have been profitable, the games division overall has been profitable. They just haven't seen sales uh, meet their targets, and I kind of be like, well, that's your own fault. You know, they signed contracts with Sony to be exclusive to Sony, and they're just not selling their games like they thought they were. You know, that's their
You
fault.
there?
Yeah, I'm here. They have to release their they have to release their games on every platform: PC, Xbox, PlayStation. If they want to see significant rise in their video game sales numbers. So that's just completely on Square Enix.
Yeah. Uh, we could have told you this that taking the exclusivity deal with Sony was probably not the best idea. I mean, on paper, maybe you thought, oh, Sony is the dominant platform in this generation and even last generation. It seems like a good idea, but going forward, especially as a third party company or publisher, you look at it and it's just like, was it worth it? I mean, maybe with the first Final Fantasy VII remake, they saw that return because there's more PS4s out there than there are PS5s. So maybe you could argue that there was releasing it exclusively on PS5 was not the best idea, especially that, which is the reason why other publishers are releasing their games last gen, 4 years into this generation. So, um, I don't know. I mean, you'd have to think that after this that maybe they might want to back away from this deal. I don't know what the contract says, obviously, so they could be stuck. But there is
No,
a.
I mean they did announce their partnership with Xbox,
I was
so I know
yeah
for sure they're going to bring more games out to PC and Xbox. It makes more sense financially for Square Enix to do that. I know fanboys wouldn't like it, but obviously they're not buying their games enough. So,
Yeah, I
but
was
like you
gonna.
said, it's exclusive to PS5,
Yeah,
and then it's not helping that the PS5 and the Xbox are just not selling that well.
that is also an issue too. I think honestly, so initially when Final Fantasy VII Remake got announced, like it was just a whirlwind of nostalgia. And
Yeah,
then when the game came out, obviously people bought it because, it's Final Fantasy VII. Come on, you got to buy it. Um so once that initial hype died down and people realized what the game actually is, which I mean, it is a remake, but it is split up into 3 parts and it changes a lot of the things that happened in the original game. So I think those two things, um, or well, that the fact that they changed it and the fact that it's split up into 3 parts is what's keeping it from reaching the hype levels that it initially had. So honestly, granted, this is dependent on what the contract that they signed with Sony is or says. So maybe this means that once the third game hits, we'll see it come to Xbox. Like you said, with the whole partnership that they have, they did say that they would bring as many titles to Xbox as possible. So I mean, I don't think it starts with Final Fantasy VII. I think was a Final Fantasy 16, right?
yeah.
I think that comes first, and maybe with the third installment, that'll be released on all platforms, or maybe that'll still be exclusive. But then once that has the exclusivity window pass, they'll do a bundle because that's kind of like what they did with Kingdom Hearts. When they did the remakes for Kingdom Hearts, it was all exclusive to PlayStation. But then once the entire series was out and they did the bundle where you can get all the games, that came to Xbox, including the prologue to the well, no, that was included in the collection. But yeah, so I don't know. Square Enix does things very differently and very weird. So
They do. They really do.
um so yeah, I think honestly this is just another sign that Square Enix probably made a bad deal. And I think there was an article a few years ago that's basically said that yeah, they made a maybe it was last year that they made a bad deal with this exclusivity thing. Even just for like the PC aspect. Like if they were to release on PS5 and PC, then they probably wouldn't even be dealing with this. Um yeah, so hopefully now that Square Enix has like new management, they'll realize that maybe taking exclusivity deals is not the best idea if you're trying to be profitable or if you're trying to like make sure that you're not losing sales because restricting a game that would have normally been on all platforms to one, you're restricting sales. I mean, maybe Sony paid the difference. I don't know what that difference would have been, but it probably wasn't enough to make up for it. I don't know,
Definitely
but
wasn't.
we'll
I
we'll
mean,
s- we'll
yeah,
see
we'll
what
see.
the third game uh holds. Which honestly, like, is it even gonna come out this generation? Because it
Who
just came
knows?
out this year, so we're talking about maybe 2 or 3 years before we see the last installment, and the PS6 might be already out. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's gonna be a PS6 console exclusive.
They'll have one version for each platform, each generation.
Crazy.
PS4, PS5, PS6.
Yeah, and getting into consoles, we talked a little bit about it. We mentioned about the console sales. Overall, everybody's down. Sony's down, Xbox down. Nintendo Switch is um, slightly less down, but still up. Like they're not hitting their targets. But they're still selling like 100,000 units.
Yeah, which
You
is
know they
crazy.
Yeah. So they're down, but not as bad as Xbox and PlayStation. And you know, these sales figures come out, and us as gamers, we don't really care. we got the PlayStation, we got the Xbox. We're playing on these games that we love on whatever system we prefer to play it on. But there are groups of people on Twitter and on just social media in general who will point to these sales figures and just hope that one company dies. They hope that Xbox dies, and some crazy Xbox fans hope that PlayStation, loses money and they start dying. But in reality, you have to look at the situation. If Xbox actually does die, PlayStation becomes dominant, you're gonna have games that are $110. You're
Yeah.
gonna have you're gonna have games, consoles that are gonna be $600-700. You have
Yeah.
to realize that the both or all three companies being around is to benefit the consumer, to benefit us. You know, with that competition there, they're going to rival each other and make better pricing for us. I don't
Yeah.
understand how like Xbox recently just did a console increase in Japan, so they raised the prices of the Series S and X in Japan. Makes zero sense to me, especially in a market where they're not selling very well in the first place. This is what, 4 years into this generation. The consoles, the price of these consoles should be going down, not up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I honestly, this generation is really hard to predict because obviously I mentioned before, like the pandemic
Yeah.
affected everything, and that is why these publishers are not. I mean, there's some, but majority of publishers are releasing games for the last gen consoles, Xbox One and PS4. Like even just uh the other day they announced. I mean, they announced it a while ago, but they confirmed that uh what is Star Wars Jedi Survivor is coming for PS4 and Xbox One. They announced the date. I forget when exactly, but it's coming. It's still they want to do it because they need those sales.
And
And
the thing is, the price is still $75.
yeah, honestly, it's just these the pandemic really like kind of hampered the I don't want to say innovation, but like the need to upgrade. Obviously, like us, we're enthusiasts, so we get these consoles like when they come out, and a lot of people are like that too. But for the average gamer, it just doesn't make sense. Like, why am I gonna get a PS5 when I can still play God of War Ragnarok on my PS4? When I can still play, or Ratchet? Oh, was it? No, not Ratchet and Clank. Um,
The Last of Us.
The Last of Us, or just Fortnite, Warzone, all the Call of Duties, like
Now the
FIFA,
Star Wars game.
Star Wars. Yeah, now the Star Wars game. Like all these games are still coming out for their last gen consoles. So it's just like, why upgrade? There's no need. Like I still play the same games and I still get the same enjoyment. These are people who just they don't care about having the latest and like greatest tech. They just want the games, and that's all they care about. And I know people like that they're satisfied with whatever they got. Like I know people still freaking playing on the base Xbox One, which is insane to me.
That's
So
crazy.
yeah, so it's just like there's no reason to upgrade. And that I mean that goes for both platforms, PlayStation and Xbox. That's why we're seeing the console sales decline because there's just no need to upgrade.
Well,
And
there will be when GTA 6 comes out.
yeah, I mean, yeah, that's gonna be the real litmus test to see like, will people actually upgrade for it? I think they will.
Oh yeah,
Um,
of course, of
and
course.
honestly, that's why I'm so. I mean, I'm not so like I've been saying that Call of Duty. That's another like high caliber game that could have gotten away with just being next gen. People will upgrade for Call of Duty, but the revenue is what they care about. They don't care about console sales. And I think that's what the main issue is that
Yeah.
so many people are fixated on the idea of console sales being the end all be all when it's not. It's revenue. Revenue is the king. Like that's why Sony is trying to build up PlayStation Plus to compete with Game Pass, because Game Pass brings in the revenue. Now that they're adding Call of Duty to it, it's gonna bring in a lot of revenue. So I think people need to get out of that mindset that sales is the only thing that matters. It matters to a certain extent, but it's not the only thing that matters. And this generation probably should have been the clearest example because of the investment in cloud, in the investment in play anywhere for Xbox. The fact that they just added Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy to Game Pass. The fact that I can play that on my Xbox or on my PC or on my ROG Ally or on the cloud, that's the future of gaming and what Xbox is trying to see. That's not gonna sell consoles because they had the whole Amazon Fire Stick. Yeah, the Fire Stick stuff that we're talking about. No console needed. Yeah, people got upset about it, but that's the future. People are not they're thinking short term. They're thinking the console is always going to be around. And while that may be true, I mean, for the foreseeable future, the console will be around. But ultimately, 20, 30, 40 years from now, the console is not going to be a thing. Everything's going to be streaming. The same way when people were talking about Netflix, everybody was saying, oh, I got to have my DVD, my Blu-ray and stuff like that. Netflix took over, and now everything is streaming. I mean, granted, there's some people who still collect Blu-rays and stuff like that, but there's a reason why companies or stores like Best Buy and Walmart, they're doing away with physical media because nobody buys it anymore. It's not in fashion, I guess you could say. People like streaming, and that's what they want. They want the subscription. I mean, that's a whole nother argument in itself, but that's what the future is. It's streaming. And Microsoft and Sony are getting into it early because they know that's where we're headed. Whether people like it or not, that's where we're headed. And unfortunately, console and like physical machines that can play these games, they're going to go away. But it's not going to be as bad as you think. I mean, maybe for the purists out there who want the physical stuff, maybe they'll fight a good fight and keep them around just, for the nostalgia aspect of it or whatever. Because I mean, like, freaking companies will still release vinyl records of like albums that come out for the collectors and stuff like that. Maybe that'll be what it is. But I mean, we're kind of seeing it now with limited run games, where games that were digital only will get a physical release through them, but it's only it's very limited. So it's like you gotta get it if you really want it. You gotta get it through them. But ultimately, the future is gonna be in the cloud, and it's a hard pill for people to swallow. But that's just how it is. Yep. I mean, I'm kind of like, I don't want to say I'm all for it. I'll have to wait and see. It's probably not going to be anytime soon. I mean, I'm just going to say.
I honestly think that it is soon. Most people buy digital anyway. PCs have been digital for many years now. It's here already. People just want to fight against it. Just let it be. This is what it's gonna be. This is the way the industry is going. This is the way PC market has been for some time. The next console, I would really be surprised if it actually has a disc drive. I think it's just gonna be an all digital console because they can then focus and put more time and energy and into the R&D to make the console better. Because they don't have to worry about a disc drive or anything or a Blu-ray drive,
Yeah.
It would be less expensive, and especially since they're spending so much money on cloud.
Yeah. The only thing I can see them trying to do in terms of like with the all digital stuff, I could see, obviously I could see Xbox doing it first because they're the ones that are, I mean, they have Game Pass. That's an all digital thing anyway. I can see them releasing an all digital console and then releasing like a separate, like maybe like USB-C type attachment that will play the disc. I mean, you don't even play the disc. Like it's an install. Like you put in the disc, you install the game, and then the disc becomes a DRM. That's all it is. So I can see them doing something like, I mean, PlayStation did it. Like with the new slim model of the PS5. That's literally what they do. Like, it's a detachable thing, the disk drive. If you got the all digital version, you can still get a separate disk drive attachment and just attach it to your thing. I think that's what's gonna be going forward, just for like backwards compatibility um stuff, because people still have the physical media and they would still like to play them. But it'll be an option. Now, granted, it's gonna be more money, but like, them's the breaks. That's what you gotta do. You really want physical, you're gonna have to pay for it. Like, that's just how it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, but honestly, like, the whole console stuff, like, it's people like to make it out to be like the worst thing ever. Like, oh, like Xbox is like 42% less, even though it's Xbox hardware. It's not Xbox console.
Yeah.
Xbox hardware includes everything that is physical. Controllers, the I was gonna call it memory card. It's not really memory cards. It's the expansion
The SSDs. Yeah.
SSDs. Yeah, that the consoles, headsets, all this stuff is included in the hardware.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's down.
But their revenue is up.
But their revenue is
monthly
up.
active users are 500 million.
Yeah.
So it's like you get to be down in some places, but then up in others where it counts.
Yeah.
And that's the stark difference that people need to realize. That fanboys on Twitter that have zero stake in these companies want to focus on.
Yeah. Honestly, if you're not an investor in these companies, in Sony, Xbox, Nintendo, whatever, you should not care about this stuff.
Exactly.
Like, honestly, like, we do it because, I mean, we cover the news and stuff like that. But in reality, just play games. You're a consumer. Consume. I mean, it sounds like pretentious, but that's the reality of the situation. You should not care about this stuff. It does not affect you at all. Just play your games, and you'll be fine.
Yeah.
Just play whatever you want to play.
Yep. Yeah. Speaking of playing games, Warner Brothers does not want to play games anymore. That's it. They want out of the business.
Yeah.
They want out. This is according to their Financial Times in their reports, saying that they potentially want to sell. They want out. They want to sell their assets and just be done with it. Now, there's a lot of rumors going around that Xbox may buy Warner Brothers Studios or game studios or even some of their assets, but who knows what's going to happen. There's a lot of it could be Apple that buys Warner Brothers. Who knows?
Yeah.
Their video game service. We don't know who's going to buy it, but we just know that they're looking to sell. They're looking to get out of the business because they were hit with the I think it was Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League. The Licer.
Yeah.
It costed them like $200 million in revenue. So it's like they don't want to deal with this anymore. They want just out of the business because it's too volatile.
Yeah,
There's
and
too much going on. They don't want a part of it no more.
And Warner Brothers as a whole has been dealing with a lot recently, especially like I don't know if you heard the whole NBA stuff, where they lost the rights to air the NBA. Now they're in a lawsuit because of it. So yeah, they're dealing with a lot financially, and I think they just saw the gaming side of things and was just like, why are we doing this? So it's like, you know what? Let's sell it off, sell the studios, whatever. I don't know who would buy it. I think Xbox would have been, like, if it weren't for the Activision stuff, Xbox would have been prime, because I think a few years ago, even before the Activision acquisition, Warner Brothers was in discussion of being acquired. So I don't know if Microsoft wants to jump into that then again and deal with like all the regulators and stuff like that. This will be obviously a smaller acquisition because it really depends on if they can work out a deal for the IP. Because honestly, you can get these great studios, but what's the real money is in the IP, and that's what's a very vital portion of an acquisition is the IP. Can you get the rights to Batman? Can you get the rights to Mortal Kombat? Well, I guess Mortal Kombat, that's already an original IP, but like to all the Warner Brothers stuff.
Yeah,
Um
Harry Potter.
Harry Potter, yeah, especially now with the Hogwarts Legacy game.
Yeah.
Um yeah, if the IP comes with the acquisition, like the rights to it, obviously they won't own the IP, but if they can get the rights with the acquisition, then maybe it might be worth it. But honestly, I think with everything that's going on, I think Microsoft might want to lay low for a little bit. But that begs the question: who would do it? Would it be an Amazon? Would it be maybe another publisher like EA? Because they used to do other Warner Brothers properties before Warner Brothers got into the gaming business. Um, I don't know. We'll have to see like how much they're worth. I mean, we won't know that until they get acquired, but it I think it's probably, I want to say, a foregone conclusion. It's more likely to happen given what I said earlier about Warner Brothers Discovery's financial situation regarding like all the other stuff that they're dealing with. Because not right now, I mean, they're kind of like in a rebuilding phase. Like I feel like for the past few years they've kind of been like kind of stuck in like figuring out what to do. Like that's why they merged with Discovery, because they just didn't know, and then they basically changed everything. It's not like they basically just wanted like a rebrand essentially. So I think this is kind of part of it. They want to get rid of the whole gaming stuff. They don't want to do anything with it because it's just too costly, and they would just want to pass it off to anybody else who's willing to deal with it. But time will tell. We'll see who, if anybody decides to. I hope somebody acquires them, because if they don't, then literally what we've been talking about, layoffs, is what's gonna happen. And I really don't want to see whole studios get just laid off at once, because that's gonna be terrible.
Yeah, it's definitely gonna be bad. So hopefully somebody acquires the studios.
Yeah, I mean, you would think like there's so many studios there that are willing to, or not willing, but like are worth acquiring. It's just it depends on if Warner Brothers is willing to sell them individually or wholesale. We'll see. If it's individually, like a THQ situation, then I can see them easily selling them off. Like the every publisher will pick and choose which developers and
For
studios
cheap
they want.
too.
Exactly, for a lot cheaper than they would be wholesale. But I think that's probably what it might come to before they just close everything out entirely.
Yeah, it's definitely gonna be interesting to see what happens. We'll just have to wait for that one. Um, I guess if we have time, we could talk a little bit about some controversy that happened.
Yeah.
With the developers at Phantom Blade Zero, a PS5 and PC exclusive. So it came out on from a website. It was a website. They were doing a podcast. And they were there. A Brazilian game website, Gameplays Cassie, asked the developer for this game, Phantom Blade Zero, if they see the game coming to Xbox. And supposedly the developer said nobody needs this platform. And so they just sort of like walked away. And then everybody started different channels on Twitter, on YouTube, and IGN picked up on this story. And people were sort of like upset that this claim was made that these so-called developers were at S Game were making these statements about Xbox. And for I think it was a couple days where everybody was talking about it. Like, oh, nobody needs Xbox. These developers said nobody needs Xbox. Xbox is dead. But then S Games came out and made an official statement saying these claims and statements do not represent S Games' values or culture. We believe in making our games accessible to everyone and have not ruled out any platforms for Phantom Blade Zero. We are hard at work on both the development and publishing fronts to ensure that as many players as possible can enjoy our game at release and in the future. So honestly feel like this came out like these people sort of fabricated the story a little bit, saying they asked the developer, but it was probably just some random person at this little this
Yeah.
this because it was at like a convention. It was during China Joy's 2024 Games conference, and it's probably just some random person that they decided to ask at a booth, and somebody said something stupid to as a joke, and all of a sudden, boom! It's all over Twitter, and there's some big controversy that nobody needs Xbox, but
Yeah.
in reality, that didn't even happen, and S Games doesn't like believe in that at all. So who knows? These fanboys like to play a lot on Twitter because they don't have very many games to play, so they play Twitter.
Yeah.
I think that's what boils down.
Yeah, no, I think that's exactly what happened. That they probably saw like at the convention, they probably talked to some developer that was there, and that developer spoke their personal feelings about the situation, and then the developer got wind of it, obviously, because all these fanboys ran with it, and they were just like, no, 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 that's not what we think. That's what that person probably thinks, but that's not what we as a developer think, because obviously that's bad PR. even if the majority of people felt that way, you can't say that publicly because that's just it's negative PR. I'm sure everybody has their console preference and stuff like that, but you can't let that get in the way of business. If Phantom Blade Zero is a success, obviously they're gonna want to put it to more platforms, especially the point is growth. You can't grow by staying on one platform. I mean, it's on PC as well, but you can't grow by restricting the amount of people that can play these games.
Yeah.
So obviously, I mean, especially if you're a third-party publisher, that just doesn't make any sense. So
Yeah, why limit the amount of money you're gonna make?
exactly, you say, I don't want Xbox's money. Like, what? Why not? Why wouldn't you? Like, who cares? But yeah, so I think it's just a case of a developer just getting a little too fanboyish and speaking what they feel instead of speaking on behalf of the company, and the company is basically kind of like backpedaling and being like, "Oh no, that's okay. That's not what we stand for. That's not what we believe. Please buy our game." So but yeah, like I mean, even like the Switch 2, like that's gonna be a potential console that you would want to release for. Like, why would you not include that as a potential console going forward? Um, yeah, I just yeah, it's just a stupid story that people wanted to use for console war nonsense.
Yeah.
But I'm actually glad that the developer came out and said something, because it's very easy for a developer to just say something and just publisher or publications can get away with it and
Yeah.
publishing it as something bigger than it actually is. It's happened in the past where a developer would say something and then a news site will just run with it, and then it gets circulated and then the developer doesn't say anything. But I'm glad that they actually took it upon themselves to set the record straight, essentially.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Because we don't want um a whole market out there thinking they're left out of a game. You know, unless it specifically says exclusive to this, they're they're not gonna be left out. It's just gonna take more time. Exactly. There's an example for here. Black Myth Wukong is only coming out for PS5 and PC. Actually, I think it's this month coming out.
Yeah.
Um, and the Xbox version got delayed a little bit. But still coming out for Xbox. You know, they already said that they've been working on it. So it's sort of like they don't want to, these third party, like you said, third party publishers and developers do not want to limit themselves. They want to make money, because if they don't make money, they're gonna hit layoffs. You
Exactly.
know, so it's gonna be coming to Xbox at a later date. People just need to relax, let the developers, you know, develop their game and optimize it, and we'll just get updated, better version of the game.
There you go. Like, yeah. It's for a third party publisher, you don't want to shut out any platform. That's just this is how it is. Even if like the game is gonna release exclusive to one platform at first, you don't want to shut out the potential to release on other platforms.
Yes. And that's it. And that's what we got for the news. That's it. We've done it.
That was a lot. I mean, we could have talked about more because we had stuff from last week that we didn't get to talk about. But yeah, so that's gonna do it for us, guys. Remember to like and subscribe. If you're listening to the podcast, please rate us, and I'm sure you can leave a comment on certain platforms. I know, like a Spotify, you can comment on it. And yeah, and don't forget to subscribe to support our sponsors, W Energy. You can use code LUP at checkout to save some money on your order. And NordVPN, you can protect yourself from unwanted guests on your network. And also, like Brother Zay said earlier, you can visit other countries and see what they got to offer on their platforms and stuff. And then obviously Starforge PCs for all your gaming needs and custom. Well, you can customize, right? Yes, or is it pre-built?
They're pre-built, but you can also customize the build as well.
Okay.
So they have like selections where you can just buy a pre-built, or you can customize it to how you want. They're really good PCs, really good people who make the PCs. So go ahead and click those links down in the description.
There you go. So that'll do it for us. We will see you guys next week. Peace.
Laters.